Show here. Welcome to the Dr. Fantastic and Thunder show where we introduce technologies and information and fantastic people to make your mind, your body, and the planet better. Today I'm honored to introduce two of my favorite people, Doug Ivanovich and Stephen Wenzel. I think that's how you say it, right, Stephen?
It's Stefan.
Stefan.
Like Stephen Curry.
Okay.
Yes. And it's Denzel.
I'll get it right one day. Any rate, these guys are fantastic movers and shakers, and today we're going to make a little history by introducing the two, and we're going to talk about Fukushima, a world storm aid, and a few other things. Guys, Stefan, meet Doug. Doug, meet Stefan.
Nice to meet you, Stefan. Pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I got, by way of our colleague here, Dr. Fantastic, what was a summary relative to what you folks are attempting to do with regards to the storm aid.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you a couple of quick things, if I may. There is in the document at the very beginning a picture with regards to a large auditorium, lots of chairs and screens, and it talks about the first annual meeting in July 2018. And I'm just curious to find out if that meeting ever actually took place.
No, actually, it's being rescheduled for spring. And the reason is the group and the company we were working with to put it together create what are called virtual green summits, and they couldn't do it in the time frame, so we are rescheduling it for spring, and we've signed contracts with them in probably the last week or so, in order to be able to go forward with that. So I will keep you and other people informed. We're putting together a website right now called stormaid.live, and it's having some upgrades done right now, and that kind of information will be included, so anybody can check in and find out what we're doing. We're going to create a schedule of events and so on. But our mission and purpose with Storm Aid is to address in particular, the needs of people who find themselves, devastated by catastrophic storms. So we look to help people and communities that are harmed or hurt by catastrophic storms or by extreme weather or other conditions, that affect us environmentally. And we would like to have Storm Aid grow into something that would be something along the lines of what Red Cross is to people. Storm Aid would be to people who suffer from these extreme, storms. And, the storms are intensifying. Temperatures have been increasing out there in the world. The oceans absorb a lot of that extra heat, causes more evaporation. Hurricanes and typhoons are so much stronger than they've been in ages. In 1988, there was a hurricane that was the strongest, I believe, in several decades. And that hurricane is no longer even on the top 25 anymore. So, they've been intensifying. And by the way, there have been 3 typhoons this year out in the North Pacific that toward Asia and the Philippines, Japan, and so on, that have had winds of 180 to 200 miles an hour. So the era of superstorms is here upon us, and so we're going to see what we can do about it. Very quickly, it isn't just to provide Band-Aid solutions by throwing money at people in crises. We'll do that as much as we can, but the idea is also to introduce new technologies. New types of housing, hydrogen, new types of wind technology, solar, with unbreakable, cells and panels and so on, and homes that can handle 200-mile-an-hour winds, bolt houses and and domed housing, different types of water, atmospheric water generation, and so on, but all intended to reduce the impact of these storms in the future. So that a storm comes in, you don't have one or two power plants and suddenly an entire island or a community or a nation are out of energy, and everything gets leveled. So it's kind of helping the future arrive, tomorrow's technology today, and help these communities, help them to rebuild. So that's one aspect. The other is we're about to get very bold about storm aid publicly, because there's a need for it, and our world can use some more enlightened leadership right now. And one of the things we're doing is we're reaching out to dozens and dozens of the biggest ecological and environmental organizations in the world, and inviting them to join us for Earth Day 50 or Earth Day 2020. The 50th anniversary of Earth Day is, I believe, April 20th, 2020. And so we're planning in advance to do something where, with the team we have of conventional and new media production and broadcast people, we can literally reach 3 to 4 billion people over a 24-hour period, not just by saying, hey, we sent an SMS message to 2, 3, 4 billion people. I'm talking about engaging these people who actively, participate in our event, or at least watch, observe, interact, send us ideas, responses for hours out of, the 24-hour day, the 24-hour broadcast. So, but there's a lot of room in this. We're looking for really good creative people, technical people, forward-looking people, and inspired people that are here to help, kind of restore our world, rebuild our world, redesign our world, and kind of inherit the future on a more progressive, enlightened, and cooperative model.
On the subject of housing, I spent a few decades with regards to what is the culmination of a virtually indestructible building. And it already was designed to be earthquake-proof, typhoon, hurricane. It will withstand 250, 300, 400 mile an hour winds. The nature of the design and the way that it's built. The other thing that's interesting is because of the construction techniques that I've designed, we're talking about something that's built with a molded system, and we can build it faster than anything that happens to be out there. And we'll have that discussion another day, but essentially that's the reason why my handle on Skype happens to be Platoids. So we'll have some, that name comes as a result of when I was first looking at what I'm going to call this, the guy that had the best understanding of the idea of visualization and visual constructs was at first in this area was Plato. He writes extensively with regards to those constructs, and Platoids happen to be very much what would be considered to be the safest and the most secure form of housing ever designed. And it's an interesting design. It's very roomy. It gives the ability of being able to divide up and to apportion the structure from anything from about 1,400 square feet all the way up to, depending whether or not it has a basement or not, almost 11,000 square foot single residence. So it's very exciting. We're going to be talking about that and a number of other things.
Would love to find out about it. I have no
doubt of that. You're quite jazzed by what we've done. Okay.
Right.
Just a couple of important matters relative to business. So, my understanding from the document that I was provided is that you're currently on the hunt for what looks like about $5 million. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. When it comes to the issue of storms and the effects, and the public line, of course, is that Fukushima took place as a result of the tsunami, and that tsunami ended up wrecking the structures, inner workings of the reactor. And I would at least very boldly tell you that there is nothing. Yes, you can have a Louisiana or a Florida or a Philippines. By the way, I am in the Philippines. And the weather here has been a little better than it's normally been. I've been here for about 18, coming up 19 months. And I can tell you that the weather that I experienced here last year was nowhere near as wet. And the country did not get hit by anywhere near the number of typhoons that it has this year. And then, of course, you don't have to go any further than the typhoon that hit Hong Kong, which was just another blowout, major blowout. But in as far as damage to the planet and damage to humanity, destruction to the Pacific, there is nothing that has wreaked more havoc and more destruction on our planet than Fukushima. Nothing. And when you look at now what's been happening with the radiation levels along the west coast of North America, when you look at the nature of the sea life and the destruction of the Pacific from an ecological standpoint, there is nothing out there that has come close to doing the damage to man and to creating scenarios of added death than that one single incident. And so what in my conversations with Monty, we've talked back and forth about what that would mean and, what a natural hook for this would be as far as storm aid is concerned and so on. So one of the questions I've got for you is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but when aside from should a station insert its own advertising, you folks will have the complete control over the video stream that goes out that gets broadcast worldwide. Is that correct?
In terms of online, video streaming, and in terms of mobile streaming, that would be completely within our control. Some of the television, depending on, when you work with major networks, and we've worked with hundreds of them, we've worked with up to 5,000 Earth stations, TV stations, around the world in up to 180 countries. Oftentimes the television people, the stations or the networks, they get to put in half of their spots. Or if they buy the show outright for television, they get to control all the spots, but, in exchange for the loss of, sponsorship dollars to us, the sell price for the show and the content we provide the television network, they would have to pay a much higher price. From time to time, the BBC, NBC International, and others will pay $100 million for something like, this, when it's done correctly and properly. However, if we own the media time, which is also a possibility on television, then it is possible, we've done that at times in the past, then it is possible we could own all of the time on television, radio, streaming, internet, and mobile.
Okay.
Just depends on how it's done, and we have a few alternatives or options in that regard.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is that would it not be in your purview to be able to air a 5-minute mini documentary on Fukushima?
Yes, and listen, let me first agree with you. Fukushima is obviously not a new subject or topic for those of us who are aware of what goes on in the world and things that impact humanity and the environment. For a number of years, I've been approached again and again by people, who have kind of sounded the alarm and waved the flag and carried the banner that it is probably the most dangerous thing that's happened to humanity in recorded history. So, and the consequences of it are almost inconceivable to the majority of people. So I see it as something extremely serious. My concern has been that, yes, we could have done a show or two on a very large scale, reach probably 2.5 billion people on the subject, but didn't have solutions. And one of the things we've got to do is take advantage of that kind of an opportunity and have some solutions and introduce those solutions and get the support of the world community and governments and people everywhere to be able to implement such solutions and start doing something about this. But in terms of content and messaging and so on, even if regardless of how we distribute the show or syndicate the show or broadcast a show, such as any Storm 8 event or our World Peace One events, a Fukushima event, we would have in our time, in the time that we control, regardless of broadcasters, regardless of sponsors and commercials and advertising, part of our methodology is absolutely to depart from kind of the conventional concerts where, they get some great musicians up there and they play their music, but these shows fall very short too often in the messaging department. So for us, we have the ability to say, hey, in our 48 minutes of time, we can say we will put 30 minutes of music and roughly 15 minutes of our PSAs, of our messaging, of our world alerts, of our content, and that can be anything we want. So it really doesn't matter which way we either syndicate or distribute our show. We still have the discretionary power to say at 2:20 p.m. we're going to put in a 5-minute piece on Fukushima.
Okay, good. That's super. With regards to attracting the musicians and stars, is it a fair assumption to say that you don't have difficulty in terms of attracting some of the biggest names in music?
That's generally inversely proportional. The process, the challenge is typically inversely proportional to the seriousness of the cause. So if the more serious the cause is, the easier it is to secure the A-list artists and in significant numbers. When we did the Live Aid concert, we had 70 of the world's biggest acts, So in the meantime, we also have people that are top professionals in the industry, and these people, they secure the Bruno Marses of the world and Drake and Beyonce and Taylor Swift and Bruce Springsteen and Sting and all these people. They do it professionally, they do it regularly, and so it's not a problem. As an example, I have a friend who is probably the number one talent coordinator, a friend and associate, a lady that I've known for years, and she brought all the talent to the Grammys for 20 of the last 25 years. So she's connected to anybody and everybody, and she's done more of these kinds of events than anybody on earth, except there's a gentleman named Harvey Goldsmith in the UK who is probably her equal. But so that's a person that you hire, and because they do provide professional services, they work hard, they put in a lot of time, they have a team, so they often don't do it for free, but it's quite affordable. And the return, the value that you get for hiring this kind of a person is really it's highly rewarding.
Okay. Super. All right. That sounds. Have you thought of, or have you considered any dates or potential dates for next year yet, in terms of what you may think? July, August, September next year. Is there anything in that realm that you think it could happen?
We will probably do one or two of these major events between right around May 1st and September 1st.
Does that preclude the concert we're going to do for veterans?
That the veterans concert, is likely to be one of the two.
Yeah.
So, but that one is done under the umbrella of World Peace One concerts. So.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yep. So anyhow, but yeah, they're typically done. If we're going to reach 100 and some countries, and it depends. See, certain events like the Veterans Concert or event here, the Veterans Super Concert, is primarily focused on the U.S. and countries or territories where we have U.S. troops that would be cooperative. But a Fukushima type event should involve over at least 180 countries. Because this is Fukushima is everybody's business, even though they don't make it so yet.
And what kills me is the people that don't know about it. I can't believe how many people don't know about Fukushima.
Right.
That's a travesty.
It's true. It's true. Well, it would be partly our job to ring the bell and let everybody know. So, and these projects, of course, you reach 2, 3, 4 billion people, you can raise a lot of money.
Now, Stephen does have some solutions. I know you don't know of them yet. And can you briefly talk about the solutions, Stephen, of remediating the radiation?
Well, there's a number of approaches that, I would clearly, I don't want to get too revealing here because there are some strategic partners and things which I can talk about some things generically, which would be good, but let's just say that we'll start with there are two of the most immediate problems which they're facing on site. One happens to deal with water. They're running out of storage tanks with regards, and it's interesting as a result of another announcement that the Japanese made relative to dumping radioactive water into the Pacific. The South Koreans are pitching like crazy with regards to the fact not only do they not appreciate this, but they've reminded the Japanese that they actually have no right to do this.
Right.
And they've got that issue. And then you have this little issue with regards to 10.7 million bags of contaminated soil and dirt, which are, by rough estimates, is about 500 to 600,000 metric tons of soil that is contaminated on site, and they just keep piling it up. Oh, they're making nice little squares and having a nice little storage system out there. They're in typically a flat bag, and it's mind-boggling when you see the pictures with regards to how many of these bags actually exist. And the most recent number I got was about 10.7 million of them. And then, of course, there's issues with regards to ambient radiation. And there is the problem with regards to the health effects that are currently spreading, which goes to a project that we have within our environmental company specific to being able to deal with areas of being able to reduce and to mitigate the effects of ARS, acute radiation syndrome. And its 14 indications are not a pleasant thought for anyone on any level.
Right.
Then you have explosion with regards to cancer. And the few things, of course, that radiation likes to go after is, of course, the thyroid gland. And the amount of thyroid cancer that's not only evident or resident now in more Americans along the West Coast, but clearly even within the Japanese youth, has also gone through the roof. So there are problems out there that are very significant with regards to that issue. So to address that, we're looking at a series of clinics that we look to offer that will have profound effects on people. The systems are electromagnetically based. This is not a drug, it's not a pill. And it deals with the repair of the DNA, repair of the RNA, and it does a number of other things, and one of which, interestingly enough, happens to deal with age reversal. you can think of it as a side benefit, and that system goes to lengthen the telomeres, which is unusual, but it does. And I can tell you stories of people. There's a very, I can't mention his name here, but there is a very prolific neurosurgeon in the United States. He celebrated, I think, this year as either his 81st or his 82nd birthday. I recall a letter that went to the inventor a couple of Christmases ago, not only thanking her with regards to the wonderful effects of her invention and what she did, her system, but he professed that he does not any longer have one gray hair on his body.
Wow.
He professes that there is nobody under or over the age of 50. This is an 80-year-old who can beat him in tennis, and the effects of the system are quite profound. So we want to be able, at the most cost-effective level you could ever imagine, with regards to making available time in and around these systems. And the beautiful thing about it is that it's non-invasive. Nobody, no clinician, technician, doctor will even ever touch you. You don't have any clothes to remove, no uniform to wear.
Right.
And all you do is sit within the EM field. You can read, you can listen to the music, and most beneficial to your body is you can sleep. When you put the body into the lowest energy state you can, it ends up affecting the body the most profoundly, the most positively, with regards to the effect that it can generate.
Of course.
So it's an amazing system. You'll get to know a little bit about that and those particular systems, and we hope to put some clinics into other areas in Asia, which will allow us to be able to address these people's needs and concerns. And it's going to have a holistic approach. And then last but not least, when I first started out in terms of looking at Fukushima, back late 13, early 14, I'm going to tell you that we started out because there was a lot of, I don't want to say bickering, but a lot of puffed up chests about the fact that people, groups, companies would say, well, we're...
Okay.
Did we lose him?
Yes, he probably ran out of bandwidth. He warned me of this, but we got 27 minutes with him. It was a good first introduction. You can see he's on the same path you and I are on.
Absolutely. And Monty, haven't you and I been looking for the Fountain of Youth for about 100 years?
Well, I don't know. Did you listen to my Augie Nost interview?
No, I haven't.
Augie Nost was talking about the Nobel Prize winners that discovered the secret to the telomeres unraveling. And if they don't unravel, they unravel with age because we don't treat our bodies properly and our mind. It's both the body and the mind. And these guys won the Nobel Peace Prize for this, and the telomeres don't have to unravel if you treat your body properly. It's like a shoelace with the tip undone, and it unravels, and that's aging. They discovered you don't need to age, and that's Augie Nost. We interviewed him about 10 days ago on our podcast, and I tell you. The telomeres is a secret. And you know what? The government's not going to tell anyone about this. You know why?
Well, of course not.
The Social Security and pensions would be ruined.
Of course.
So it's just the people listening to the Dr. Fantastic and Thunder show that are going to be privileged to this stuff.
There you go. Yeah, they want to raid Social Security. They don't want to keep it going forever.
Yeah, they don't want us living to 200. There's a guy recently died in China at 256 only because he had an accident, not because he died of old age.
Oh.
So
rumors about that.
It's the telomeres. So, it's about the telomeres, and he just validated it just now. So that's exciting.
Well, listen, one of the wonderful things about modern technology and your podcasts, as I have not heard that show, I can go back and listen to it.
That's right. It's all archived there.
Exactly.
And then my interview yesterday with Michael Horn, I've been getting calls that said I need to win the Golden Mike Award or something. Michael Horn is a very, very hard interview to not only to get but to be able to negotiate. and I'm being told that I did a brilliant job, and I don't know if that's true or not, but Michael Horn, as you might know, is the publicist to Billy Meyer, and he's telling me, forget about UFOs, forget about all that stuff. They're here, but that's not what's important. What's important is fixing our planet and the disaster that's happening with Fukushima. And now I'm on a binge on this. You and I need to reach out to all our celebrity friends. We need to put the documentation in front of them. We need to rally them, and then of course we need to fix the problem.
Well, I did mention to you, and I will repeat here, that I just realized that I have their business cards. I sat probably 18 months ago or a year ago, somewhere between a year and 18 months ago. I sat with a couple of professors, one from UCLA and one from USC. And they kind of, decided to throw in the towel as far as the competitive sports between those two universities, and they've been collaborating on some kind of method of neutralizing radioactivity in water. And that would be an extremely valuable function. How widespread it can be applied, I don't know, but I do know that these guys were, they're the Nobel caliber scientists.
Yeah. Well, where there's a will, there's a way,
Right. Well, for every problem, there is a solution. There is no problem or crisis or illness or disease that arises in nature that nature cannot cure or provide a solution for.
Yeah.
We just have to find those. And one of the things we have to do is also get people who are researchers around the world to stop being so stingy with their information.
Yeah. Well,
we start sharing and cooperating, because if all the agencies around the world that have been battling the cancer issue would cooperate and provide information for each other, cancer would have been cured. Now, there are what people refer to as soft cures, often alternative cures, but even traditional medicine would have cured cancer, but some are not in the biggest hurry to do it because, once they do, they don't get the hundreds of millions of dollars that they're.
It's all about the money. It all boils down to the money. But I'm going to talk to some billionaires, and with the billions of dollars that they have, if they're not around to spend it, what good is it?
Right.
So
exactly.
This is an ELE. We need to publicize those three letters. Extinction level event. My God, if you could understand the implications of that.
And see, already, Monty, we are literally right at the threshold, and I talk about this and I write about this a fair amount, of humanity's flirtation with suicide, okay? As a collective, we are on the threshold of the sixth extinction, and we need to do the right things, and mobilize. I've said this about World Peace One. Part of the message is that time has come to mobilize for peace the way we have always previously mobilized for war. And I've said also, as far as our environment goes, our irresponsible and predatory economic practices and industrial practices are typically tantamount to the human race waging an undeclared war against nature and our own life support systems. So those processes and the engines that create all of this, destruction of nature, these processes have to be slowed, stopped, and reversed, and we have to start building engines of mass, instruction and inspiration and construction and solution, to neutralize this process, to reverse it and start creating, this new, more enlightened and cooperative world, more harmonious world that absolutely can and should exist. And especially we need to leave that for the people and the children of present and future generations. We have been designed for success. The only thing that gets in the way of that is, when egos get too out of control, when the macho elements are too, unrestrained or unconstrained. When we are too divided, I've written a divided, hopeless, and uninspired humanity will achieve little that is grand and noble and may even destroy itself. But a united, inspired, and hopeful or cooperative humanity, there's nothing we cannot achieve together. And so, when I mention we need some enlightened leadership, it's only because there is too much division and divisiveness. There are some people who say, God created one humanity. I know others would say aliens created one humanity, but humanity creates 10,000 divisions. And that's a silly practice. Right now, we need to solve our common problems. We are human first, and we have to solve our common problems. I say we've fashioned several omega crisis points, and one of them certainly is ecological, and Fukushima is very much there, at the apex of this process. We've fashioned these omega crisis points. These are not alpha. These aren't like, you can do something and get past it and easily solve it. No, these are very serious crisis points, and we have to solve them, in a hurry, because omega crisis points don't give you much room for follow-up. They're like all or nothing. They're ultimate. They're the last crisis points, or at least major, that we have to solve, among the last that we have to solve in order to have a graduate humanity. And my life work really is about helping humanity to graduate into a much higher, more inspired, collaborative, cooperative, and peaceful, and environmentally balanced human race.
Well, we need more Doug Ivanoviches of the world, and we need to get them together right now and put our forces together and solve these problems. I think Ronald Reagan said it brilliantly at the Congress once, or at the United Nations. He said, if we were visited by aliens, then maybe the world would come together as one.
Absolutely, I remember that. And look, I'm not waiting for cloning or nanotechnology or robotics to help you and I live for 500 years. But I wouldn't mind taking a look at what Stefan was describing and finding out, how effective this could be. Because, the older we get, the wiser we should become. Not necessarily more intelligent or brilliant or genius, but if we get wiser, it's wisdom that's required. I wrote once that wisdom is the child born of the marriage of the mind and the heart.
Oh, very nice.
And wisdom can solve problems, because otherwise, without that marriage between the mind and the heart, the longest line and greatest distance in the universe is the line and the distance between the human head and the human heart.
And you're still not sending me those, what do you call them? Aphorisms? Aphorisms.
I'm over 20,000 on them.
I know, and you haven't sent me one of them yet.
The good news is that I've got them all archived.
Okay. We need to start sharing them with the world. And we need to open the world's eyes as to this ELE that's upon us.
Absolutely.
And
so I'll leave you with an aphorism, Monty, and our listeners.
Okay.
The time has come to mobilize for inspired action to solve our collective problems, including and especially the environmental problems in the world, the way we have always mobilized for war, the way we have always previously mobilized for war. So now's the time to start mobilizing on a global scale to do the right thing and to lift and heal and elevate humanity and restore our planet. Earth restoration.
I couldn't have said it better myself, my friend.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure meeting Stefan. Look forward to continuing, and I am certain that it's going to be a dynamic process.
And if you get a chance, listen to my my podcast yesterday with Michael Horn. It's off the charts.
I will.
Thank you, Doug.
I will do it.
And
Thank
Doug,
you, Monty.
Be fantastic.
Thank you, listeners. Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.